Episode 11 of the Wheelhouse podcast is coming at you right now. My name is Joel Spreadborough. Catherine Bates is also here. Now, I'm calling
excited.
you Catherine. It's a formal day.
It is. Oh, I didn't put on my formal attire, my frock, and you're not in your tuxedo.
I know. I left it on the kitchen bench. But we have upped the set. As you can see, we've got rainbow graphics in honour of a very special occasion. Just very quickly, episode 10, I missed it. There was a fill-in, though. Some really handy bloke. He was good. What's his name? Some guy named Cadel Evans?
Cadel Evans, yes.
Yeah.
The one and only Cadel Evans dropped
Wow.
into the Wheelhouse bunker, Joel. I'm sorry, you were out on the bike. I couldn't get a hold of you. I think you were testing out your new chamoose.
I was.
Because Champs' kit did arrive. And look, we won't labour too much on the chamoose. I feel like we've been talking about your butt every episode for a
The
little
old
while
Ben
now.
O'Connor's. Yeah,
But it was good.
Oh, mate, let's just
improvement.
pad out the chat quickly, and I'll tell you that a good hour and a half didn't feel a thing.
Oh, excellent.
Didn't feel a thing. I don't want to get too complacent, but just bring on course Wollongong.
Oh, beautiful. Well, look,
segue.
we are going to do a bit of a course recon of sorts today, Joel, but we are so excited. And we're trying to be as formal as possible, even though we're not in formal garb, because it's time trial time at the Wollongong World Championships. The time trial, the race of truth, they call it.
I love that,
the
by
clock.
the way. The race of truth.
Yes.
There's no hiding from the race of truth.
There is not. It's the one event in road cycling where usually, and without exception, I think that's a bit of a contradiction there, but anyway, you get my point, right?
Absolutely.
The best rider wins.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with the team. There's very little strategy in it. If you fall off, it tends to be your own fault.
Yep.
The only thing possibly is maybe a mechanical or something like that, but also that tends to be yours or your team's fault for the most part. So there's a lot less variables.
Yep.
Fastest rider to the end wins. It's
I
as
love
simple
it.
as that.
Yeah. It's old school racing. Now, what I just quick quirk question, if you don't mind.
Yes.
You're getting very excited about
I
the
am.
time trial, and I'm excited too. We're going to be very excited throughout the course of this episode. You don't love them in the GTs, but you're okay with the WCs.
No. Teams time trials I don't like.
You just
in
don't
the
like the
GTs.
TTT
I don't
and the
like
GT.
the TTT in the GT.
But in the WC, just the TTs.
Just the T. Exactly.
And the ITT
You
in
got
the
it.
WC as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, good to clarify. Now, before we get into it, you're on board, and literally on the board for Wollongong. You're also part of the broadcast team. Most importantly, your priorities and your commitments are with the Wheelhouse podcast. You got a little bit on your plate, Kate, and I think you got a little bit of help because your commentary guide has arrived.
Oh, yes. I was so excited. So this is my 19th World Championships, Joel.
Wow.
I can confirm that most of them I've been lycra clad.
We're in the chamois.
I can also confirm there'll be less chamois on show in Wollongong. I think the local small children are glad that I won't be trouncing around in said lycra.
Yeah.
But it is really exciting to see it from both angles. And I guess a home World Championships is a really rare opportunity, whether you're a rider or an official. And for me to be able to be part of the broadcast on home World Championships is an absolute thrill. And it's something I didn't ever imagine that I'd get to do. I didn't actually get to ride a home World Championships.
Yep.
So for me, this is kind of the next best. So that'll be on Stan. And it's really exciting. But also then, of course, we're taking the Wheelhouse down there, Joel. So that will be thrilling. And part of the board, it's been really special to see this event come together through very challenging times, I might add.
Yep.
Through all of COVID, Wollongong had a terrible weather event with some quite significant flooding as well. And I think big kudos go to the organisers and everybody involved in pulling this together. We've got some pretty motivated people down in Wollongong who've worked their butts off, can I say.
Yep.
It's kind of a special moment. Look at me, I'm all like gushing
All
about it,
aflutter.
but it is. But
look, and so you should be. Look, if I may, just a quick shout out. You put so much work in. Obviously, your place on the broadcast team, but putting this event together as well, being such a big part of that. So enjoy it. I'll try not to get in your way too much. The Wheelhouse will continue. The wheels will continue to turn. Very excited the Wheelhouse to be in the gong as well, of course.
Yes.
But congratulations to you and good luck. And I hope you did read your contract closely in case there wasn't a clause that says chamois clause.
I missed that if it was there. But you bring up a very good point, which is I've got all these guides. So my commentary guide arrived, but it was one of about 10. I feel like you need a thesis in Elite Cycling World Championships 101. I have a commentary guide, I have a media guide, I've got a technical guide, I've got a production guide. I'm trying to make sense of all of it. The commentary guide, though, absolute cracker, Joel.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not giving away any industry secrets here. But, you watch the Tour de France, and we worked on the Tour de France last year together, Joel, and you listen to the commentators. They know every castle. They know all the history. It's really quite remarkable, and it adds beautifully to the coverage. A lot of the time you're watching the Tour de France, listening to these pieces of history and thinking this is a region I'd like to visit, both because of the visual elements of it, but also the beautiful descriptions. They get a commentary guide.
Oh, big
so
I'd like to visit it, and I'd love Matthew Keenan to be my tour guide because he's a French historian of epic proportions.
He is. No. Yeah. Well, look, if you took Matt Keenan and the commentary guide, you'd be on a winner.
Oh, you'd be on a winner, yeah.
And so I went through this with a bit of an Aussie focus, and I thought, Joel, we're going to get ours back because we're going to be down there together for the Wheelhouse. We've struggled through a few pronunciations.
I love that you're saying we have. I appreciate that, Kate.
I mean, we didn't know how to say Vingegaard to start. I mean, we gave it every iteration, as did every commentator.
Neither did most of the commentators. Yeah.
But reading through this commentary guide, it occurred to me that some of the place names, because remembering that the whole Illawarra region, there's a lot of naming conventions in traditional First Nations language.
Yeah.
So it's the land of the Dharawal people. They're traditional land names and places. And I reckon the
revenge.
Europeans are going to have a heck of a time trying to keep up. And I found a few little examples. One of them was Woonona.
Okay, yes.
Yes. Corrimal.
Corrimal, yep.
Wombera.
Wombera, yep. I'm all over these. This is great. Okay, yeah. Thirroul.
Ostermeyer.
Not familiar with Ostermeyer.
Gary.
Yes, Gary, beautiful beach.
Right. And then there were a few other funny ones that I thought the Europeans won't know what to do with.
Do you reckon they'll say bully?
Maybe they will. Or like the Kiama blowhole. They're possibly a bit curious about what that may be.
This is Kiama blowhole. Yeah, okay, that'll be interesting.
And then also, of course, the Bradman Museum is in the area as well, so there might be a little bit of cricket education for our European friends.
That's amazing. That's amazing. In Bowral, of course, as they might say.
Yes, exactly.
Beautiful town of Bowral.
So I'm looking forward to them making their way down the coast throughout the course, attempting to say these place names. We might have to get Merksy, our executive producer, onto it to see if we can clip up some of those very funny attempts.
I think I will go around with a list of locations and just run a little bit of a test and just see. And look, thank you for saying we, but I do often struggle with names and locations and these complicated places in Europe like Paris and Spain and Londoon.
Monteux.
Yeah, Mont Vontux. Yeah, exactly. So it's good to get some revenge. Now, I want to talk about the entry list because there's 906 riders on the entry list and we've been teased with up to 1,000 riders, but it's not a start list. It's still not a start list.
It's not. And this is having all sorts of impacts, especially in the social media world, Joel, because people are trying to put together like their dream team or their ultimate picks.
Yeah.
But actually the start list isn't released until the day before, and that's when the managers have to sign off on the final rider list. But what we've been given is the entry list, and that has all of the reserves, a lot of them non-travelling as well. So I saw, for example, Australia has Rachel Neylan on the list, but she's not coming with the team.
Okay.
She'll be in Australia because she wants to come home and see her family.
Yep.
So that's an example. So I think that people are starting to get a little bit frustrated with their virtual tipping games.
Oh, playing havoc. Absolutely. You know what it reminds me of? It's like when you're getting married, the draft wedding invite list, which is often
controversial,
hundreds long.
Nobody should ever see the draft list.
Oh, no. Oh, goodness, no. So how many have we got? 50. How many's in your draft list? 400.
908. Well, and the other really exciting thing I noticed too, Joel, is the Aussies have released a new kit.
I love that. I saw it, yeah.
Yeah.
Sharp. And a very important piece of kit as well.
It is, and so it was designed by a Kalkadoon lady, Shirney Sutton, and she did an artwork that's her interpretation of the Oz cycling path to reconciliation. They've turned that into a beautiful kit. It's the first time that an Australian cycling team under the banner of Oz Cycling has had such a beautiful kit. We've done it at the Paralympics before, but not for Australian cycling specifically. It is just beautiful. So I'm really pleased that they've gone down that path. And Wollongong in particular has such a rich First Nations history. And I think that it is really wonderful with the world coming to our shores that they're really embracing that. And also the uniforms for the hostesses. Yes. Which is to say the people giving or giving the support in the medal ceremonies. Yep. They are also dressed by a local artist has designed those outfits.
Beautiful.
As well, Indigenous artists. So that's really cool.
It's extremely significant. It's a very significant thing and good to see that kind of recognition getting into more sports.
It has. But something that hasn't been unveiled yet, Joel, and I feel like with all my different positions in this event, I feel like I should know the answer to this one, but we don't yet know what the athletes will receive on the podium. When they get their medals.
A medal, of course, but other than a medal.
And a jersey for the winner and usually some flowers. But there's also usually like an animal or a toy or a symbol of something local. Like at the tour, the Credit Leon lion, they get that.
What about a chunk of metal from Port Kembla?
It's coal mining country. Do you think that's appropriate?
A chunk of coal.
Blue steel. We could
a
get
bit of
some.
Steel. I said, what did I say? Metal, steel, steelworks. What am I talking about?
We can do. Oh, well, there's coal too. I think down there.
What about a St George Illawarra Dragons jersey?
No.
Okay.
That's a firm no from me. Or that would just be sacrosanct. No, I'm thinking like a marsupial.
Yes.
Not a live marsupial.
A possum roadkill. That's a bit...
Actually, I will have to check social media and see if any of the foreigners have had any encounters.
Yeah. Maybe a little lighthouse.
With our local flora and fauna. Oh, yes.
Snow globe lighthouse.
Flagstaff lighthouse is on the course.
I think we should be part of this decision because there's some good ideas being thrown around. A chunk of coal,
Why
bit of metal.
haven't they consulted us already?
Now, on the Wheelhouse podcast, chatting about Wollongong World Champions, we're going to get into a time trial preview. I'm just 80 countries coming along, which is just amazing.
It is.
A lot of countries to get through, so it's easy to abbreviate them as they do in the Olympics and big events like that. The old 3-letter abbreviation is a big part of it, and it can become just a tiny bit confusing from time to time. Okay?
Well, how good's your geographical knowledge? So this was something that I learnt pretty early in the commentary days, actually, is figuring out all the abbreviations. And I do remember very clearly trying to figure out what the Austrian abbreviation would be versus the Australian, because Australian is AUS.
Yeah.
Why does that get precedent over Austria?
Yeah.
But Austria is AUT, for example. And so I've pulled out a few because you're a man of the world, Joel, and I know that you would have very sound geographical knowledge, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me test you on a few.
I'm so glad you're doing this live. Yeah. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah, no worries. When I say I have your back, you'll not forget this. RSA. What do we think RSA is?
That's South Africa.
Yes, Republic of South Africa. Good one. NED.
Netherlands. Yep.
Good one. BRN.
I was reflexively about to say Brisbane, but it's Bahrain. It's
Bahrain,
right?
It is Bahrain, yes. GUM.
GUM would have to be Guatemala.
Close.
Oh, no!
Actually, no, geographically not close. It's
Guam?
Guam.
Oh, it's Guam.
And this is the final one, and this is significant. ERI.
ERI.
Yes.
I was going to say Estonia, but
one of the highest profile athletes to come to our shores for the road race comes from ERI.
Oh, you're killing me. Erinsborough.
How long can I draw this out for you?
Eritrea.
Eritrea. So Biniam Gourmet, he's heading out. He'll be a favy for the road race.
Okay.
Yeah,
3 out of 5.
There you go.
I started off okay.
Yeah, and I think that's a good game for anybody to play with their significant other driving down the coast to Wollongong.
Absolutely. I'm still just sitting here spitting
like
about
what
Guatemala.
Fun that will be as a car game. It's like bingo.
ROU, just quickly for you. ROU.
Oh,
Have I got you?
you've got me.
Have I got you with ROU?
I didn't expect you to turn the tables on
thought
me.
I just
That's
would
sneaky. That's very sneaky and cheeky. You got me.
Romania.
Romania. ROU.
Yeah, that's another.
I
I thought
would have
I'd
thought
throw
it was
that because
ROM. So
yeah.
I wonder what ROM is.
Look, we'll fight. We'll put it in the online at some point. I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right.
Now let's move on and have a little chat about the courses. So the
Yes.
elites, the under 23s, and the juniors are essentially riding the same courses.
Indeed.
The Mount Kira Loop, the Wollongong circuit, essentially pretty technical stuff for the most part.
It is. So it's 34.2 kilometres for the time trial, 2 laps in there. So 17.1 kilometres per lap. There's a hill. It's a rise.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be important for the riders to really keep their tempo up there, but it's a very fast circuit. It's largely hot mix, so they've relayed a lot of the surface, which makes the rolling resistance low, which is to say, Joel, they'll be travelling very quickly.
Sure.
The biggest thing to get in the way is the 24 corners per lap.
Per lap? Is that?
24 corners in 17.1k.
Yeah.
Right, so 48 corners total. You can therefore pretty easily deduce that if you're not too good at the corners, there could be a very significant impact to your ride. So even if each corner costs you half a second, a third of a second, it all will add up. A lot of the corners, there's only one really hairy one, but a lot of them are hairy enough that you do actually have to get out of your handlebars. So you have to sit up out of time trial position and navigate your way around them. So I think that will be a really interesting factor.
It's going to play havoc with the aerodynamics and whatnot as well.
Yeah, it really can. I mean, it's a really good circuit. We love a good fast circuit. And over the years, we've seen some pretty high average speeds. Last year in Flanders, it was over 50k an hour for the women and 54k an hour for the men. But what's quite remarkable about this year in this edition, Joel, is it's the first ever time at World Championships that the women and the men are racing the same time trial distance.
Okay.
So there's been a massive push across all sport for more gender equity.
Yeah.
And cycling's always lagged behind.
Mm-hmm.
Always different distances. Historically, the men had more gold medals than the women, which was always just a little bit odd. They've changed that. We've now got the same amount of gold medals. We've also got equal distance in the time trial. The women are setting off the World Championships as the first event, which I think is also really symbolic and really cool.
Yep.
So looking forward to that. And we'll get to compare them a little bit, which I think is really cool because I think the women will do better than people might anecdotally think.
Interesting.
In a time perspective. So obviously they're still racing individual races. And it's also the first time that the under 23 women will get their own medal and jersey. So that's significant as well.
Yeah.
Not a separate race or separate category, but small steps.
What a progressive World Cup. What a blast forward in Wollongong. It's fantastic.
It is.
Now, these corners, I'm sorry, I'm stuck on the corners.
Back to the corners.
Is it like, you've crunched some numbers on times, I believe. Like, is it are we like the average time is going to go up with that amount of corners? Surely it's not going to be as quick, or am I reading it wrong?
No, that's a fair read on it. And I think the average speeds will be quite high, but the difference this year is that there's an extra 4 kilometres for the women, so it was 30 last year. So last year the winning time was around 36 minutes. This year we're looking at the winning time based on the course, the profile, to be closer to the 42-minute mark. 6 minutes, that's nearly a 20% increase in time overall. That's pretty significant, and that could really turn the tide of results and change who we may favour. And I suppose that's another bit of a quirk around the time trial at the World Championships. It's untested largely because they have very few throughout the year at all. A lot of them are then in the middle of tours. A lot of them are shorter distance. For example, the European Championships not too long ago, they were only 24 kilometres for both the men and the women, so 10 kilometres shorter than this. So yes, people are up and around, like you're either a good time trial rider or you're not. Yep. But there's nothing really specific to compare. And so I think that's a bit of a unknown element, especially when you throw in a bit of a time differential. Yeah. But there have been some pretty tight races over the years. I'm talking that there have been time trials that the difference, the winning margin has been less than a second.
Oh, love that.
Right?
Love that.
Every single millisecond counts. And the corners, of course, will have a big impact on that.
Yeah. It's
Can't hesitate.
Any advantage for local riders? I guess not as much, but...
Look, I think Grace Brown definitely will have an advantage because she's seen the course early and she's known how to prepare for that.
Okay.
That's about it, though, really. It's just about course recon. And whether the other teams have had the time to do the same considered course recon.
Yeah.
Because often, and this is maybe a bit more relevant in the road race, but a course on paper looks very different to a course in real life. And that's what Cadel Evans told us on episode 10, Joel.
Of course, yeah.
Is that we think it's going to be a pretty fast time trial course. We think that the corners will have an impact, but sometimes not. Now, thankfully, dry weather is expected, so that's a very big one. But it's Wollongong. We see weather systems blow in fairly quickly.
You do,
And so it will then depend where you are in your start wave. It is feasible that some of the riders will be out there in the dry and others in the wet.
Yep.
And that could be a real deciding factor as well.
It's thwarted many an attempt of mine to do a beach run or a stair climb in the escarpment at Wollongong. Oh, it's raining. Better not do it.
We'll get you doing that next week before the road race, Joel.
On the Wheelhouse podcast, no promises, but easily digestible, mostly factual content coming your way. I want to talk about equipment. Now, as you know, I'm a newcomer. I look at the bikes, the time trial bikes, and for all intents, they look very similar to normal bikes. I note there's two wheels. They have pedals. There's handlebars. But they're
when
very
you said
different.
they look very similar, I was like, is he taking the mickey here? But you're right. They do share those characteristics.
Thank you,
Handlebars, saddle, wheels, pedals. Time trial bikes are very much built to be aerodynamic, and that is the whole point of them. 80% of the wind drag comes from the person, the other 20% from the bike. But the relevance of the bike isn't just in the aerodynamics of the bike itself, but the position it allows the riders to get into. So essentially, the smaller the silhouette you can create, you have to mould your body into a very aerodynamic position on one of these bikes. They use special handlebars that they sit on, they lay down on. Joel, we've seen that. Disc wheels. There's some pretty tight regulations around them from the UCI about the design. They have to have, for example, a clear triangle in the middle of the frame.
Okay.
And the basis for that is that these things go for $25,000 plus per bike.
25 grand a bike.
Bike.
Hang on, let me do a quick sum. So that's approximately 18 of Tadej Pogacar's TDF replica bikes.
Yes, for silent auction. We need to check on what it went for.
18 time trial bikes for one Pog bike. Yeah, cool, yeah.
But they're very specialist geometry. But the whole idea is that there's some regulation around it so that nations can't just go and create this incredible design that goes very fast, but then it puts it out of kilter who has access to that.
Okay.
So they need to be commercially available bikes and then they have these guidelines which more or less gives more access. In saying that, there will be a lot of riders out there who are not on $25,000 machines. And so I guess that's where the 80% of your body being the drag comes into where you can have a little bit more difference.
Okay. I'm still stuck on the whole idea of a bike that you can lay down on.
Well, that's maybe not the correct term. Okay. Now that you repeat that to me,
you've oversold it to me because I was thinking I'll save up 25 grand and instead of making a bid for Pog's bike, I'll buy a bike I can have a little lie down on.
No, well, the positions are very aggressive insofar as the handlebars are quite low compared to the seat.
Sure.
And you can then imagine, and you can try this at home, Joel. Please film it because it'll be very funny for our viewers on social media, where your hamstrings, your glutes and your lower back have to be really flexible because your pelvic tilt forward to get lower on the bike. And if anybody's watching me, I'm using my hands in a bit of an odd way to try and describe this. Describe it. You need to be able to tip your pelvis way forward to get low, still be able to create power in that position. And the kicker is the more you move, the less aerodynamic you are. So you have to find a position that's almost like a contortion and hold it, produce high power and breathe with very high heart rates and steer at the same time. It's quite a skill.
Wow.
Sounds easy. Maybe the lay down part was misleading.
But just a touch. Your gestures don't do it justice.
No, I don't think they do.
It's incredible. It is. It's all about essentially aerodynamics and playing tricks on the air itself.
It is, yes. It's about like kind of tricking the air into thinking that the surfaces are more like an aerofoil and diverting the air away from creating any turbulence around the rider. I mean, this is not a technical description by any means. You can deep dive online. Be careful on Google with what you deep dive on. But you can find a lot of info about it. So it is quite cool, and there's a lot of nerds that get quite into, and non-nerds, however you self-identify, who get quite into this kind of thing.
So 2 Google things from today: the blowhole. Yes. And best positions.
Oh my God.
Okay,
I'm going to get
good.
fired from the Wheelhouse at this rate.
No, don't. No, Kate. Now, this is the Wheelhouse podcast. For now, Kate Bates remains part of the crew, a very important part as well. Now, let's look at some headline acts. Now, for those watching on, our man Merksy has put together some beautiful graphics, as always.
He's
for those
very talented.
listening on, we're going to talk about them, so no one misses out here on the Wheelhouse. Now, I'm going to start, if I may, with ladies first in the race of truth. One very important part of one of my favourite cycling names, the Dutch Trident. The Dutch Trident. Now, I'm going to talk to one prong of the Dutch Trident, Ellen Van Dijk. Now, she's a 2-time world champion, 2013, 2016. Now, just quickly, she's affectionately known as the Monster. How is that affectionate?
I've never heard it, to be honest,
Yeah.
but I keep seeing it pop up in articles, affectionately known as the Monster. I've known her for quite a while, 15 odd years, I suppose, and I've never heard her called the Monster.
Yeah.
But I suppose her time trialling style and ability would be
so it's like beast
akin
mode
to
kind
that.
of thing.
It is beast mode. She is absolutely tremendous. So there was 8 years between her 2 victories, and she didn't go into the wilderness. She went sort of more into professional road scene and doing really well on the road. Her time trials, she performed there and thereabouts, but just couldn't get back to that top step. And to do so last year, she's Dutch, but it was in Belgium, but she had a lot of friends and family and home crowd there. Incredibly important. And Joel, I might be a little bit biased toward Ellen because my eldest daughter is named after her.
That is just
in fact,
beautiful.
Eleanor. So I just think she's the most incredible athlete. She's a really nice person, which is great. But more than that, I think in relevance for the time trial, she is just an incredible athlete.
Yep.
All heart and lungs.
I love it.
Yeah,
The Trident,
she's sensational.
the Monster.
Yeah, the Monster. And she's also had 14 starts at the World Championships. So by far and beyond the most experienced.
Yeah, getting up there with your 19.
Yeah,
Right,
getting up
eventually.
there, yeah.
If she keeps working hard, keeps her eye on the prize. Now, she wasn't in Tokyo.
No, she wasn't in Tokyo because she broke her pelvis in quite a nasty accident at the beginning of the season in 2021 and missed selection.
No.
I think that was...
She got Caleb'd.
Yeah, I don't think that was a great decision, but she used it to motivate her and so then came out and won the Worlds.
Okay. On the Wheelhouse podcast, let's go through our time trial contenders. Now, another nickname here the Eternal Bridesmaid of Switzerland.
That's
So
quite a
how does
long
that go?
nickname, but I like it. Marlon Russa, she is one of the biggest talents, I think, to rise in the time trial ranks. She was second in 2021, second in 2020. Oh. I know that she is looking for a third time lucky. She is the current European champion. She beat Ellen Van Dijk
Some
by
success.
6 seconds there. So she's on form and she has a real focus on time trials.
Yep.
And she races on the road as well, professionally with SD Works, but her focus, like very narrow focus on the time trial, has been really noted, and I think she'll come to Australia very motivated
Yep,
So-
and has put a puncture in the trident, has blunted the trident.
Indeed.
That's-
You're really persisting with this
I
trident.
love the trident.
respect
I just think
that.
it's fantastic. Let's throw an Aussie into the mix now. Gracie Brown. Now,
Gracie Brown.
the race of truth is a pretty significant opportunity for Grace.
It is. Grace was a little bit later to the sport than most. She's 30 years old, but came into it after leaving running. She had a lot of injuries. She was an 800-metre runner, very talented one, and quite a meteoric rise through the sport. But it takes some time to learn the arts and the craft of racing, road racing, and she is coming along tremendously. But what she has is the heart and lungs and the tenacity and the real mindset that when she starts hurting, she just digs in deeper.
Okay.
It's fantastic. And so that's where the time trial really suits her. She's yet to have that big result. She did win a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games, but in terms of against the Europeans, she's like the eternal just off the podium. So she's come in fourth is her least favourite but most achieved spot at the big competitions.
Yep.
She's looking to elevate herself onto that podium.
One of many Aussies in the mix. I can just see.
Yeah.
I can see already the Illawarra Mercury and all the papers.
They're
if she
going
gets up,
bananas. Oof.
Amazing Grace. Let's say join hands and
Headlines
say
written
Grace.
already, yes.
Yeah, it's the oh dear. Anyway, your mate. Let's finish in the women. So your very dear mate, AVV.
Yes.
Now,
My mate, I love that. Annemiek Van Vlueten, look, she has been two-time world champion as well, 2018 and 2017. She's been on the podium. She was third in 2021, third in 2019.
Yep.
Always there and thereabouts. She's Olympic time trial champion. I don't think you can really oversell her capabilities in every event when she gets on the bike. The corners, I think, are the one thing that could possibly bring her undone, although her skills have been getting better and better. So we'll see how she goes. But she'll have the engine. She's got the form. She's been training very specifically for Wollongong, not just the time trial, but also the road race.
had a sight set on it, and as we've said before, when AVV has a sight set on something, everyone else just needs to look out. Now,
A couple of weeks shy of her 40th birthday
yes,
too.
I was about to ask. So
flying the flag
Wow.
for women's endurance capacities, after what is usually considered the prime, which is, mid-20s. So she's an exceptional role model.
yeah. Are you going to surprise us all with a comeback?
No.
No. Let's.
No, that's an easy one.
On the Wheelhouse podcast, it's all about Wollongong World Championships time trialling. We've been going through some of the female contenders now. As Waylon Smithers would say in The Simpsons, let's bring on the men and have a chat about some of the contenders there. So Ganna, Filippo Ganna, the Italian defending champion, the ITT, Tokyo track gold medal as well.
Yes.
Hard to stop.
This guy's incredible. He is, if we're going to give out nicknames like the Monster, I reckon Filippo Ganna should get that one.
Yeah.
The Italian also has a very single focus on time trials and timed events, and it's something that he absolutely excels in. He's a very big frame, and this is the same as Ellen Van Dijk, actually. Ellen Van Dijk is the tallest rider in the female peloton. Filippo Ganna is not the tallest in the men's, but he's 194 odd centimetres, very tall, a lot heavier than most of the road athletes. He weighs in around the 82 kilo mark. He is just all power and all muscle, so aerodynamic. He's spent so much time drilling in his position. He'll be really hard to beat. He's the world champion from 2021 and from 2020.
Yep.
He's been on the podium earlier than that, so he's been kind of building to his rise.
Yep.
So
Hard to beat is a good theme.
Yeah.
Hard to beat is a good theme as we move through the contenders. So Garner's right up there. Remco of Evenepoel, he obviously part of the Belgian brigade, which is a phenomenal team. One of your mates, but we'll get into it at another time. But anyway, let's talk about Remco for now. Recently crowned Vuelta winner. So I want to ask you quickly, tired legs, is there any risk?
Yeah, there is a risk. You don't know how you bounce out of Grand Tours. Sometimes you bounce out fitter and stronger than ever, and sometimes it goes the other direction. And I think that Jai Hindley, actually, some of his quotes during the Vuelta were saying exactly that. Like, I thought I'd be in better shape than I am, but that just happens sometimes. So if we turn that lens on, Remco, Similar kind of thing. Now, he's been on the podium a number of times.
Yep.
He was third last year. He was second in 2019.
Yep.
He's a very good time trialist. On this kind of very fast course, sometimes the heavier riders with just pure wattage have a little bit of an advantage.
Okay.
But in saying that, he came third last year on a very fast, flat course, but it was a home world championship, so there may have been that factor.
The emotion, yeah.
So I think that he will be there or thereabouts, but I probably put him slightly under the odds of Ganna to take the rainbow.
Okay, European TT champion as well, is that right?
No. So European this year, we actually had the Battle of the Stefans.
Oh, that's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
the Kung and the Bissiger, and we'll talk about Stefan Kung a little bit toward the back end. But that was also an example of where Filippo Ganna got beaten. He was third in that battle.
Yep.
But again, I'm not sure that will translate to this one.
Okay. Let's move on now. Australia. So, Australia. Now, Australia's sole medal winner from Flanders, I believe. Silver in the under-23 time trial went to Lukey Plapp. Now, he made his debut GT in Spain as well. Kid in the candy store. He's an excitable young man. What is there to be said about the youthful enthusiasm?
The enthusiasm. He is so incredibly talented. And I've watched his progression from when he was a young rider, and he started out on the track. He still does a lot of track. And we used to commentate. I'll have to tell this one very quickly, Joel. He was a very good Madison rider, and his Madison partner in juniors, when I first commentated on him, his surname was Boff. And so I had to say Plapp and Boff for 45 minutes straight, and I just couldn't stop giggling at it because I thought it sounded like a pub name or the name of a brand, like Plapp and Boff. It's fantastic.
It is, yeah.
Anyway, now it's just Plapp, so it's not
just
quite.
Plapp now.
It's not quite as fun. I'm missing Boff, but anyway, look, he's so talented. He rode Commonwealth Games in the time trial, and we thought that he could take away the gold there. We thought that he and Rowan Dennis could be head-to-head. But he actually had a little bit of difficulty with his equipment choice, where Filippo Ganna, to backtrack a little bit, rides this beautiful bike setup with a single chainring and no front derailleur. And he does that for aerodynamics and performance.
Yep.
Luke Plapp decided at Commonwealth Games to go with a similar setup. The minute that he left the start ramp, we thought this is an interesting choice because it was a course that didn't have a lot of hot mix. There are a lot of dodgy road conditions, I would say, and interesting corners without smooth edges. And ultimately it brought him undone because he hit one of these corners with a little bit of uneven road surface and dropped his chain because of the no derailleur. So I think that this course is a lot safer for that. But I think that was a little bit of an experience on his part, that he knew that he was in good form and he thought he'd go for that extra little edge. And ultimately that is the athlete's choice. But he'll have learned from that, and Wollongong will be a new opportunity. And every time he races a time trial, he gets better. So he'll be on or around the podium. I think he can sneak onto the podium if he has a nothing go wrong day.
Okay, one of them days.
Days.
Wollongong is just designed to have perfect days. It's a beautiful place. So, Grace Brown and Lukey Plapp on the podium. You've heard it here first. Excuse me. I'm so excited that I just need to clear my throat. Now, I'm excited because we haven't got to one particular individual yet. May have heard of him. Future King of Slovenia, 3-time Tour de France winner.
We're talking about Pog.
We're talking about Pog.
Righty, yes.
Pogacar.
And I think that everybody knows Pogacar mostly from his Tour de France victories.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing about his time trialling ability is that it's actually largely untested in an individual capacity this.
Yeah.
He's an exceptionally good Tour time trialist, exceptionally good. He has won 2 at the Tour de France and come third in the other 2 that he's done, some of them very long distance as well. And of those 4, 3 of them were on courses that you could compare. One of them was up La Planche de Belleville, up a mountain. Don't think that we can count that. So he's kind of a smoky because he's very capable. He is riding it. He's in very good form at the moment, having just raced in Canada, in Quebec, and had some great success there.
Yep.
But we don't really know. You never write him off, and especially when he's actually lining up for the World Time Trial Championships.
Exactly, yeah.
But outside of tours, we're not sure how he time trials, if he can lift another level, which riders like Ganna can. So,
well, he's put some focus on it, obviously, skipping Spain.
Yes.
So, I don't know. It's similar to the AVV thing. Is that once it's in the crosshairs, everyone else maybe look out. We'll see.
Exactly.
I think the big question is, will he auction off a replica of his Wollongong time trial bike?
Well, if he wins, probably.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We'll get in with a bid. Now, finally, Stefan Kung. Now, you wanted to talk about the speedy Swiss. Is he he's not your pick. He's up there with Ganna for you, isn't he? Is that correct? Or
yeah, look, so he was actually, Stefan Kung was second at the European Championships. Stefan Bissiger, the other Swiss, was first. I don't rate Bissiger nearly as highly, which is why I've put Kung in our top 5. Really, really consistent time trialer. He was a European champion last year, and we've got images of him in the European Champions jersey, of course, from that victory. But he's also really consistent, and each year he's been getting a little bit better in his time trial abilities, Joel. And Switzerland has a long history of exceptionally good time trialers, from Fabian Cancellara in the men's to Karen Turek and Priska Dottmann in the women. The Swiss, just precision.
Yeah.
Maybe it's something about their watches and everything that they do.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like Tissot timing, precision timing. So
they've also got the extra incentive of do it for Roger, of course. Roger
exactly.
Federer bowing out
He's
of,
retired now.
So look out.
Do it for. Well, they're now vying for like the equivalent of the British Spotty, like the sports personality of the year.
Wow.
If Roger Federer's gone, step in the cyclist.
Step in, step up,
yes.
Stefan.
But it's going to be, the time trial is going to be an absolute cracker, Joel. So.
Yep. Okay, ready? Okay, on the Wheelhouse podcast, we've gone through 10 contenders. My maths might not be great. Been through a few contenders. I'm going to give you a quick count for your overall male, overall women. We'll start with the men. 1, 2, 3, go.
Filippo Ganna.
1, 2, 3, go.
Ellen Van Dijk.
Ellen Van Dijk. You didn't say Gracie.
Gracie.
That's okay. I just call it Gracie.
We can.
She won't mind.
Liberties.
Yeah, it's going to be very exciting. Thank you so much for the insight, Kate, and can't wait to see it unfold. Blink and you miss it sort of action, obviously, over the short course. Plenty of turns.
Yes.
There will be plenty of twists and turns
on
and off the track. Yeah. Oh, man. The cliches are rolling on the Wheelhouse podcast. It's been a lot of fun. Very, very excited. Wollongong is finally here. Kate Bates, have fun.
See you down there, Joel.
See you there. Thanks for joining us. The Wheelhouse is produced by River City Studios for Listener. Executive produced by Luke Mears and the Mysterious Merksy. It's written and hosted by Kate Bates and me, Joel Spreadbar.